Guys, I just got poked knuckle deep in the eyeball. What? Why are you booing? What am I supposed to do about it? I didn't do the poke. I can't see.
Tom Aspinall, the UFC fighter with the shortest average fight time in UFC history. He was so good that the literal GOAT of the sport, Jon Jones, retired in order to avoid facing him. Imagine being so good that the same guy changed his profile picture, starts picking fights with random people on social media, and the owner of the UFC has to go on a world tour just to glaze Jon Jones. What would your reaction be if I told you that the MMA community, the same community that was rooting for you to beat Jon Jones and save the heavyweight division, turns their backs on you? This is the abridged story of Tom Aspinall. The year is 2020 and Tom Aspinall entered the heavyweight division at a weird time in its history. Coming into the UFC, Tom Aspinall was a budding prospect with all of his wins coming by the way of finish and only having one legitimate loss where he was outclassed by his opponent. In his first ever UFC fight, he finished Jay Collier in the first 45 seconds of the very first round. He quickly gained respect around the block for finishing his opponents in a dominant fashion by finishing them in the very first round of the fight, due to the fact that 4 of his last 5 UFC fights were finished in the very first round. Unfortunately, that streak was broken in 2022. Aspinall threw a low kick to Blade's body, but as he retracted his leg, he injured his right knee. The injury was serious, involving damage to his ligaments and cartilage, and Aspinall couldn't continue. However, he wasn't out for long though. He came back a year later in 2023. After recovering, he bounced back into form by finishing Marcin Tybura in classic Tom fashion. The very same year, Jones was scheduled to fight the undisputed heavyweight title against Stipe Miocic at UFC 295. However, Jones had to pull out due to an injury, leaving the headlining title fight without a champion on the card. With the champion unavailable and the heavyweight division still very much at a toss, UFC still wanting a marquee main event, the promotion booked Aspinall vs Pavlovich for an interim heavyweight championship in his place. Sergey Pavlovich was around a minus 150 to minus 170 betting favorite going into the fight. Tom Aspinall, on the other hand, was around a plus 130 to plus 150 underdog. Sergey Pavlovich was coming on the back of a 6-fight KO streak and had just destroyed top contenders like Tai Tuivasa and Curtis Blades. Moreover, he didn't have any recent injuries coming into the fight. Despite being the underdog, Aspinall knocked Pavlovich out in the second minute of the very first round to win the interim title belt. Since Jones went ahead with the Stipe fight next year, Tom Aspinall had to defend his belt against Curtis Blades the very next year. After the fight against Stipe took place, Tom Aspinall waited patiently to be given a chance in fighting Jon Jones to become the undisputed champion of the heavyweight division. Half a year went by and we still didn't have a word from Jones regarding the fight being booked. All we had was Jones picking on Tom, saying things like, "Do as you're told," just to spite the fans who were already angry at the ducking situation. Finally, once the pressure got to him, Jon Jones vacated the heavyweight title and Tom Aspinall finally became the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. A fight was booked for the main event of UFC 231 on the 25th of October 2025 against Cyril Gane for Tom Aspinall's first title defense. However, Tom Aspinall tragically gets eye-poked in the very first round by Cyril Gane. The same fans who were rallying behind him suddenly turned their backs against him after the incident, alluding to the fact that he quit. Almost half a year has gone by since that incident and we still do not have a fight booked for Tom Aspinall. We will have to wait patiently for updates from Dana to determine just how great this guy truly is, because he has never even been put to the test.